Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
She is somebody that gets messages for the soul, messages from the other side, the spirit world, and delivers those messages. And we're going to talk about that today, but also how you may be able to interpret messages from loved ones from the other side. How does this all work? Diane Gauthier is back with us, and so fantastic to have you here, Diane. How's everything going?
Thank you very much. It's going very good. Thank you. Yes.
So before we got on here, and just for a couple of seconds, we talked about this, the fact that the spirit world in your world is kind of quiet today. Usually you're hearing things, maybe a message to deliver. When you say quiet, how do you mean?
Quiet in the sense that usually they're hovering, like I feel it's like having a blanket on your shoulders, like they're always there and I feel them, like a big white, we call it in French, and doudou, like a big white blanket. And today, like, I don't know, we were talking about this. I don't know if it's temperature wise right now, there's thunder and lightning outside and everything. And I was shopping today and, like as I'm going to, like in front of, those little gadget things, like a cardinal is the bird for the dead ones and whatever. They gave me the name of one of my friends and the mother of the other one, which I picked the two birds. And I gave it to my friends and I says, well, that just came with your names. That didn't come with anything else, like this is just what it is today. And, like usually before a reading, there's always that 10 minutes that my hand goes ballistic. I know that they're there when I start rubbing my fingers together. This is how I know that they're here. And, like either people come to my house or I do reading by Zoom. And as I'm saying this, they are coming in. So we're going to be fine. But, like today, it was like, I'm looking for my 10 minutes and I'm saying, okay, they're in, but it's like not the whole gang, like a few of them. And usually it's the whole gang.
Does that concern you, Diane? Does it feel weird? Does it happen often?
No, for me, it's normal. So
Okay.
for me, like this is my normal, once upon a time, I didn't know, for me, it was normal for me, but it was not something we talked about. It was not something that you're going to say, oh, I just saw an old man walking in the hallway because one flew over the cuckoo's nest and drop you off, And as I grow older, I found out that no, if you talk about it, what I found out was when I talked about it to some people, they needed this at that moment. And this is when I started saying, okay, I got you, And it was one time we're going to a party, a retirement party for somebody. I'm sitting down with somebody I just saw like a few times, like a friend of a friend. And I start talking to her about her mom. And I'm saying, what the heck? And when I do this, it's like I'm seeing myself over myself talking. I don't control what comes out of my mouth. It's not going to be my own expressions. And God knows I have a load of those, but it's not going to be my expressions or whatever. And sometimes even the tone of my voice changes for like a lower tone. And after I finished talking with her, she just looked at me and she says, Diane, I didn't want to come here today, because it was far away in the temperature and everything. But she says, what you just told me about my mom, that's what I needed to hear. She said, I didn't want to come, but something pushed me. So I did come. But then, and like, I never knew her mom. I seen her like just a couple of times. And honestly, I haven't seen her since, and it was just needed to be delivered. She followed her instinct and I followed mine. It's as simple as that.
So that gets us into what we were going to talk about today is being open to going with your intuition, your gut feeling. And so for her, sounds like she was getting one, like you need to talk to Diane today. You need to go. This got to happen. Just forget about the distance and all of that.
It is the way that it works. Like we all have that thing and people will call it, I have that instinct to do this, or I have the feeling, and this is where it starts. You got that gut feeling. Sometimes something will not make any sense at all, but you got a gut feeling about it and you go with your gut.
Hmm.
And this is when things happen. Well, this is what it is. The gut feeling. It's like, or you're asking yourself a question. Like at some point in time, me, I was fascinated, but I would watch. I'm not a kind of girl that watched documentaries. Okay, let's put it this way. But every time there was something about twins or triplets or something, they would have me see and watching TV, and I'm saying, oh, I must have been a twin or something like this in another life for me to be that fascinated. And I heard yes. And then comes the granddaughter when she was born, and I've seen her for the first time. She's still in like the little incubator thing, and her eyes looked at mine, and I saw the lightning between her eyes and mine. And I'm saying, geez, I know this kid. Later on, I was confirmed that she was my twin from another life.
Wow.
Yeah, like me, I always say to people, when you're asking yourself a question and you hear the answer, you hear an answer to your question, it's not you going ballistic, it's them answering you. And you always have to say, if it was another voice answering you back, it would scare the kazoo out of you. So they go with your own voice, but it's not you going ballistic on yourself saying, oh, I'm saying what I want to hear. You ask a question, you automatically hear the answer. That is them.
We don't want to listen to that intuition. And when I sit here and think of all the thoughts I have, and I'm getting answers, I am.
Yes, you are.
I have answers for life situation. I really do. But some of them are like, is that really the case? Deep down inside, I know that's the answer. And I could say 5 different situations right now.
Mm-hmm.
That one. What are you getting on that? Yeah, I got that. That one. What's going to happen there? What do you think? I got the answer. Half of these, I don't want to listen to the answer.
Because you're scared. You are scared. Is that, like, it's like people is, you want to know, but you don't want to know. So, like, it's so, or you're saying, it's like they're giving you the answer, but me, I always say to people, where is your reward in life? Is at the end of your fear. So, like sometimes this is where it is. They're not going to put everything, like for most of us, they're not going to patch you something with a red carpet. This is your life and just go on it. No, you don't learn from that. Some people
Oh,
are
yeah.
lucky enough. Most of us, no, we stumble, like we put our little knee down, and I'm saying there's nothing wrong with that. It's just to get up, that's the old saying. It doesn't matter how many times you fall, it's when you get up that makes you
What
what you are.
it's even the old phrase, when one door closes, the other one opens.
Oh, yeah.
But we're afraid to close the door. Could even be, let's just say, a relationship that really doesn't support you, but you're afraid to end it. Could be whatever reason, maybe loneliness, whatever the reason might be. You're afraid to close that door. However, you might even be thinking to yourself, I know my soulmate, the perfect person, is right over here on the other side. I know it, but I know it's also not going to come in unless this goes out.
Exactly.
And that's,
Exactly.
it's fear, it's pain. That's just one example. By the way, I do want to share with you, before we get past this, I am a twin.
You are?
Yes. So I'm like,
I,
why is she bringing this up? That's kind of random
Mhm.
there. Hmm.
There's always, some days I fascinate myself. I swear to God, and this is just me. I have a weird sense of humor. I have to, like to be like this, you have to have a sense of humor and go with this.
Sure.
But it's like one day I was saying to this girl, which was saying that she was a medium and everything. And I don't know why, I just looked at her and I says, what is with you? Because you got adopted. And she just looked at me, and I'm saying, part of me is saying, what the heck am I going with this? And she looked at me really strange in the face and says, how did you know that? Yes, I was adopted, which I didn't even know. Like it is just, it comes out of my mouth.
Wow.
I always say, I don't control what comes out of it. I just go
Well,
with.
Because it's all about messages for the soul, and you are providing the messages, and whatever comes through, it's that you might not
Sometimes
even
it's,
know.
but you know, it's sometimes it's just for people to realize and to get, okay, so she's not a hoax. She's not a phony or something like this.
Right.
You know, so they give me something that I don't even know and that I just put out there, and it's telling you, oh, you know, what you just said. You know, well, I am a twin. Why are you talking about twins? You know what I'm saying? It's just that's the way it is. So you have confirmations that this it could be on all kinds of level. You know, like I'm always surprised, you know, but I have said before when I was younger, my mom used to say to me, Diane, you're going to have to learn to shut up. You cannot always say what goes through your mind. And, you know, my mother's gone today. Well, it's too bad to say, what was I saying back then? What was I saying when I was a kid for my mom to say, you can't always say that, you know? And it's
Mm.
like, and throughout my life, I've been said, you know, be cute and shut up. You know, like it just, you know, like it was because sometimes I disturb people with what I say. You know,
Mm.
sometimes it scares people. You know, like I said, you want to know, but you don't want to know.
But you're not being true to yourself unless you share certain things,
Exactly.
or share everything, whatever it might be. And the twin thing, what are the chances that I'm a twin? I don't even know what the numbers are, you know, what, and you
No,
bring it up, and I don't want to intentionally look into something, but why would you be
no,
bringing it up? I don't know. If there's a message floating out there,
yeah.
I got nothing. But
It's just it's the way it is, you know. And this I had said it before, where I went for my waxing, and the girl and I was with my stepdaughter, and I, you know, like, and as the girl, you know, when she's leaving the room, I looked at my stepdaughter, and my hand is going ballistic, you know, and I'm saying there's a message. So she says, well, you know, it could be me. And I said, it ain't you. I just spent an hour in the car with you. So I said, it's not you, it's for her. So when she came back in, I looked at her and I says, well, you know what? I deliver messages. So right now, I have a message for you. I don't know what it is. So start talking and I'll jump in at a certain time, you know, and that's what happened. She started talking. She looked at me. She started laughing. And I said, nah, I know it sounds weird, but it's all good. Don't worry, you know. And she just started. And at one point, I got my cue and I just got in and I said, okay, this is what you need to hear. And I told her, you know, like what she needed to hear. So it's just what the message was, basically. Because me, this is what I say to people. It's not always what you want to hear, it's
right.
what you need to hear. So to go back to what you said before, you have 5 different things, but they're not telling you what you want to hear. So this is why you're disregarding them. If you have a total stranger that comes in front of you and confirms it, then
Mm.
you're saying, oh, man, wait, that's right, you know?
Yeah.
But often enough, you don't get the answer that you want. You get the answer, you know. But
Again, it comes back to fear. And
yeah,
you just, you know, we all know the answer. We
mm-hmm.
do. We, you
You
know,
do.
it's within us. If you listen to your intuition, now sometimes answers come from other places, or maybe those answers validate what you're hearing inside in the direction that you should go in.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and maybe your spirit wants you to hear it. Yeah, what you were thinking, that's what you should be doing.
Yeah,
It could be
it's
whatever.
exactly. It's just, you know, like some people are asking me, you know, like with the plus comes the minuses. You know, like I always say, my granddaughter, which is 18 years old now, you know, like she when she comes to see me and she's with her friend or her cousins, we
Yep.
always get the deck of cards out because they're in there. But me, I say it's from generation to generation. I know because when she was born, I saw she was my twin. So at one point, you know, like all of my grandkids, it's like I figured part of them where it comes from because I believe in reincarnation, you know. And
Yeah.
some people, when they cross your path, either a moment or for a lifetime or for whatever time, my personal beliefs are that they were there at a certain time and they needed to finish whatever and they come back. It's like today, my husband, which I affectionately call, when we started dating, I was calling him my farmer because I'm living now in a farming town and whatever. And I was following a course, a Chancy course, the course for the angels or whatever. I don't know how I got into that, but anyways, I followed that course. And one day I'm saying to the lady, I'm talking about my husband, and I say, yeah, like my farmer. And she has her two hands around my head, and she says, it's funny that you call him this way. And I said, why do you say that? She says, because you were in another life, a couple, and you were farmers. This is why I'm a city girl. I'm a Montreal girl, basically, and I'm living in Ontario and, like in the country. And I feel so at home here because in another life, sometimes you ask yourself questions. How come I'm feeling so comfortable? It's like a New Yorker. I bring you in the country and you're feeling, oh, I'm coming home.
Yep.
And you always lived in New York, on the pavement. Well, somewhere, somehow, in another life, because I do believe in them. But yeah, probably you were. And this is why it's coming and touching back base. And this is why you're feeling so good.
And it feels so familiar. And I agree.
Exactly.
I think I shared with you, and I'm more and more getting closer to believing in past lives. And I have an affinity for the 1800s. I have nothing for you. Can't explain why. I just can stare at pictures for hours. Yeah, it's like around the 1870s, right around there where technology was just starting. There was photography, but just the clothes and how they did that, but simpler way of life. And the other day I was reading, and I was going to read on my deck, but it had rained and the cushions were wet. So I grab an actual beach chair, throw it down in my garage, and I just sit down and I'm reading a book about manifestation. And I just stared ahead and I just looked at the trees and maybe part of a building and thought to myself, I could be living where you just said in the farmlands. And I was like, dude, you could be happy here. You could do this. It would support you. It would be a different way of life. But I'm getting a flash now. Why am I thinking that? Because maybe that's what I was in maybe the 1800s, where it was a lot simpler, and it wasn't, yeah, there were big cities, nothing like they are today. But yeah, maybe that's why it's resonating with me.
Because right now where you are in your life, you need to go back to the roots. You need to go back to where you were happy. You need to go back to that place, that familiar place where it fulfilled you. And that's what it is. Maybe this is why that today you're feeling that you want to go back to the 80s. They call you because that was a happy time, simpler time, and in life, going back to the roots, going back to the ground. And this is something that you would need. Because why today and not before? Before, you were in your fast pace, you needed to do this. Oh, wait, come on, let's go, let's go, let's go. Let's be bigger, let's be better. But once you've done that, you got to go back. Okay, what's after this?
I truly believe that you are right.
Yeah.
And I even thought I could do what I'm doing now on a farm. It would be the same thing. I could just, I could support myself and then go see the chickens. And by the way, I have a friend who kind of did just what I'm talking about, just clicked in my head. We grew up together. And one day he said, it's about maybe almost 20 years ago, 15, 18. And he said, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. Went online, found a farmhouse, bought it sight unseen. It wasn't that expensive. It needed renovation, sold his house in the New York area, and just went and started a new life. That's what he did. He was done with everything. Yes. You know what? I give him a lot of credit. I'm not that guy. I don't think I am, but he's the kind of guy where you could pick him up and then drop him anywhere and he'd figure it all out. And he did. Yeah. He and his wife made jewelry and they supported themselves doing that. And some other things. But yeah, I mean, sometimes it's ready. Sometimes you're ready for a change, but you got to be ready to receive the message.
You got to be ready for what's coming to you. It's like me before I changed provinces, from going from Quebec to Ontario, I asked the question, is this the perfect person for me? is, am I doing the best thing? Because I'm leaving behind, yes, I'm only 2 hours away, but kids, grandkids, job, friends, and everything else. And right here on my top right, I heard like like those locks that you unlock, like a bolt that you undo. And me, I was only seeing my boyfriend at the time only on weekends. I never had, when I moved in, I didn't even had spent a full week with the man, because the provinces, the distance and everything, we would only see each other on weekends. And people were saying, you're crazy. And that weekend, when I saw him, after hearing that bolt unlock, I saw him under a total different light. And I'm saying, okay, this I could do, because you're taking the city girl, you're bringing her in the country, you're going languages, just a language barrier. Yes, I do talk English, but I'm a French person, so, and he was a total English person, barely talking French, so it was, yeah. But, this is what it all comes back. Often enough, people are asking me, Diane, is my perfect person coming for me? Is the perfect, and I keep saying to them, for a lot of them, they're right there underneath their eyes, but they don't see them. For a lot of them, it's like, oh, I want Mr. Right. I want him to be like this, to talk like that, to be that. And I'm saying, well, sweetheart, I don't want to ruffle your feathers, whatever. You're not perfect. And that person will not be perfect either.
Sure.
But some, maybe you just take those two imperfect person and do the perfect couple. You have to be able to accept their faults. So when people are looking for the perfect match, before, once upon a time, I would have a list and I would say, okay, you don't want a smoker, ask for healthy lungs. You don't want a drunk, ask for a healthy liver and everything.
What you just said, and we're just about out of time. We could do a whole day on that in terms of manifesting what you're asking for. Because if you're throwing into the universe, I don't want a smoker. Well, you're asking for a smoker. Yeah. Even your subconscious doesn't know the difference. It's hearing smoker. All right, let me do everything I can find a smoker, and you'll attract that person.
You always have to think that the universe has no negative. So right. If you say, I don't want, they only understand I want.
So want smoker. All right, Diane, we're going to throw you somebody who smokes. Fantastic. They're going to be perfect in every other way, but they're going to smoke.
Yeah. And if that's you're not thing, well, you're going to, I said to somebody at one point, to a very good friend of mine, are you going to say no just because he smokes? And she looked at me and she says, yes. And because for her it was that important. When I became single and, and I did my tree, what I wanted, my wish list and everything, well, I was the same way. Saying all my life I lived with smokers, parents, sisters, everybody smoked. I never did. And at that point in time, I chose not to anymore. And now my partner doesn't smoke. But
I believe what you're saying is true. I'll give an example. I am single, dating, and I find people that have lots of anxiety, and I don't know why. And I think it's also because I put into the universe, all right, the next person, I don't want them to have an anxiety. Well, yeah, they were perfect, except they have massive anxiety. And I think just what we said proves that, because I manifested perfection, everything.
Yeah.
Everything except massive anxiety. And that's, that can be a challenge and not really what I'm looking for. I don't want to be a therapist anymore. Never was.
Yeah.
So I should have manifested emotionally available, emotionally.
You know what you should say? The perfect person is the perfect two things that you want. Somebody that will be able to love you as much as you will love them, and somebody that will be able to live with your faults and you live with theirs.
Yeah.
Because to live with somebody's quality is the easiest thing in the world, but to live with their faults. So, which means it's going to be the faults that you are able to live with, because everybody has them.
Of course.
As perfect as I am, I do have faults, So, like me, Sean was always asking, he was saying, I was always asking for women with an opinion. And he said, I must have asked it very loud because they gave me you, because I do have an opinion. But, and it's like, that's what I'm saying.
But what you just said, I want to go back to it before we forget it.
Yeah.
You want somebody who's going to love you the way you love them. And
as much as you love them.
As much as you love them, because that really does take care of everything. And that takes care of the faults. I love you no matter what. You have some faults. So do I. I hope you love me as much as I love you, despite whatever my faults might be. That's probably the most important thing you could manifest in finding somebody. Don't focus on, brown eyes, blue eyes, whatever in hair, because it might show up in a different form.
Yeah.
We're out of time.
It always goes too fast.
I know. And it's like, all right, so the spirit was quiet today, but we still, connected on a lot of different levels here. How do we find you, Diane? If somebody wants to hear those messages or even get some guidance on their life in terms of what we're talking about?
Okay, the perfect way is my email. My email is Diane with one N. Good. I was mixing two things here. Okay, my email is Diane with one N .tarot, TAROT @outlook.com. Or you could go on my Facebook page, which is Diane Gauthier, GAUTHIER, Messages for the Soul. And I'm there every Tuesday night, 7:30, where I interpret images that you will have chosen. It's a little 10-15 minutes every Tuesday night. I'm there, and you could see me there.
Love that. And it just shows you're accessible and you're here to help people. So, and for that, I thank you.
Absolutely. Anytime.
I'll see you on the farm.
Well, I come on down because we have, you got to see it. Me, I'm always like, you would have never thought that this city girl would have been so at ease with, the country. And it is, even my daughter, when she comes to see me and she says, "Ma, just the ride over here is calming."
Yeah.
So,
well, you know what? I believe you needed that. You needed that and you got that.
Yeah, much calmer. Things are on a different level over here.
as they should be for all of us. Yep. All right. Thanks, Diane. We'll talk soon.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.